In today's clip, I'm going to fix problematic motos with the most minimum of additions and tell you why none of this will matter anyway. Okay. Hey, yo, XenPuck here. God, I love the internet because branding is hard and people love pointing out what is not working without any type of actual proposed solutions. Well, then there's me. I'm a problem solver because I can't help it. So let's cut to the chase, and I'll give my thoughts on how some slogans or marketing gimmicks can easily be changed for the better, with only a word added. This is just an exercise in language alone. I have no intention or ability to fix the massive social issues behind each example. So please, please, please keep that in mind, okay? Example 1. Wow, Burger King really had their marketing people go put out an ad and or tweet that said, "Women belong in the kitchen." On International Women's Day, no less. I mean, I'd like to just laugh at their idiocy, but the internet has already done that job because that is what the internet is great at, bagging on people for their mistakes mainly, okay? What I find more ironic is that what Burger King was trying to do, if I'm to take them at their word, is really to talk about why women aren't better represented in the field of being chefs. I actually agree with this because, well, it's a stereotype that women are the ones that cook at home in the rarefied world of celebrity chefs, or even just chefs at, regular respectable restaurants. Women are somehow woefully underrepresented, despite, cooking being quote-unquote women's work at home, right? So here's my fix for this terribly loaded phrase that they used. They said, "Women belong in the kitchen." Here's my version. Women belong in the professional kitchen. Boom, problem solved, right? Because for those idiots who think that their wife's main role is making them a sandwich, the professional bit would counter the idea that we're talking about unpaid domestic work. With just one additional word, this tweet becomes about what society recognizes as work that's worth celebrating and celebrity at the same time. Professional kitchens invoke images of frantic cooking shows and Gordon Ramsay at this point, right? Instead of the centuries of unappreciated domestic servitude that ladies has been toiling under. I think that's a pretty easy solve. Example 2. This one is a much more loaded phrase, right? It's been a few years, and I honestly have no idea why the Black Lives Matter people don't simply change their motto to Black Lives Matter 2, at the TOO at the end, right? One word addition, and it would negate a nonsensical counter-argument of Black Lives Matter that says all lives matter, right? Now, I need to spend a few minutes railing on the phrase all lives matter for a second, okay? That's a tangent, but that's what I do when I go on tangents. This is the stupidest out-of-context rebuttal I have ever heard of. Now, I'm not saying that everyone who has been tempted to repeat this particular line is racist, but at the very least, they lack consideration and critical thinking skills, right? No one has ever said that not all lives matter, right? But if everyone actually believed that all lives matter, then BLM as a movement wouldn't exist at all, okay? Obviously, people don't believe that. It's precisely that certain marginalized groups aren't treated the same as everyone else that Black Lives Matter sprang up to begin with in order to change that. And all lives matter has been and can only ever be seen as a reaction to the Black Lives Matter movement, because I've never heard of anybody kumbaya with this phrase, all lives matter, prior to BLM popping up, okay? And the moment the most marginalized group in the US, which is the Black people, African Americans, however, whatever is in vogue to call them, the moment that they dare to raise their voice, the people in power has to respond with this made-up slogan that artificially trumpets equality for all. Where were these people before BLM came into being, right? Where was the power of shouting louder for equality then? So yeah, all lives matter is as reactionary as it gets and needs to never, ever, 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 ever be uttered by anyone who considers themselves a reasonable human being, okay? Now that I've made that clear, I still think Black Lives Matter as a motto could use the adjustment, right? To just add the word to at the end. I mean, I Googled Black Lives Matter too, and didn't see a million people demanding this change, so I figured I should make it clear that this would have been a mildly better model. I'm not saying that even if this change happened, racist people wouldn't be able to come up with some other way of co-opting it somehow anyway, right? After all, haters are gonna hate, right? But seriously, Black Lives Matter too would directly put the focus on how the whole point of this protest movement is to emphasize that black people too deserve to have their security guaranteed in the country they live in, right? Like, I'm not black or white, but I'm not going to say I don't have a horse in this race, right? I'm absolutely on the side of the minority here, right? And if I had to worry about being shot anytime I go for a jog, I'd start a movement too, all right? It's as simple as that. It is utterly ridiculous and completely unfair for a whole group to worry about being killed by people in positions of authority or their neighbors simply for existing and looking different. That's just not okay, okay? So it absolutely, their lives should also matter, thus the addition of the word too. Look, at the end of the day, for BLM, that motto is already set in stone. It's not likely to be changed, right? So while I think Black Lives Matter too would mark a more precise statement in English, I also get that I can't expect to put the burden of education on the protesters alone, right? Our society at large can do a better job self-educating, myself included, and to a lesser extent, the sexist overtones of the Burger King campaign can be mitigated with the addition of the one word of professional, right? But then again, strangely, maybe I'm being too hopeful still, and even if that happened, douchey dudes may still point to any sentence that involved women and kitchens as some kind of throwback to the good old days when ladies knew their place, right? So let me repeat again, this really isn't a commentary on how one random internet stranger can solve the problem of racism or sexism at all. I just enjoy playing with language, especially the English language. And if you have better suggestions, please feel free to do so and do all that usual standard YouTube stuff. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. Cheers, and check out some of my other videos on the corners above.